Okay, so welcome. I hope you're enjoying your downtime, and I hope that everybody is doing the thing with Nurses Week that you should be doing, celebrating the glory and wonder and magic that each and every one of you are. But that's enough about my personal experience. Let's sort of introduce this panel that we have here, and we're going to have a nice kind of relaxed and low-key and cool conversation about some of the motivation behind nursing as opposed to all of the nitty gritty and the tough stuff and a little bit of the beauty and the love and the light that's in it. So if I could just get some introductions and we'll go from there. So I don't know if you're all in an order in what I'm looking at. So I'm like, hey, number one, but you don't know who that is. So Christa, why don't you go first?
Hey, I'm Christa Philpott. I'm Region 4 rep for the area. Been nursing now for 27 years. Most of my career was in acute care, so I was into ICU and emerge. And just last year, I moved into a different job, into family care team, and I'm loving it.
Into family caretaking, is that what you said?
Family care team.
Okay.
Yep.
Jennifer, can you hear me? Are you frozen? Nope, you blinked.
Yep. My name is Jennifer Hiscock. I'm Region 6 rep, which is in Central. I've been nursing for 24 years. Been in the operating room for the last 12, 13 years. I'm presently the care facilitator for that area.
Cool. Let's go to Raelynn.
Yeah, I'm Raelynn Strangemore. I'm Region 2 rep. So that covers just 1 second. The dog is crying.
Give it yeah.
Sorry.
Is it okay?
So I worked ICU for 15 years, and then I went to emerge. Now I'm the patient care facilitator for the inpatient units, and I do labor and delivery as well. So pretty well been all over.
Apparently, yes. And what about you, Taylor?
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm a registered nurse in obstetrics, gynecology, and labor and delivery. I'm Region 9 representative covering the St. John's area, and I've been a nurse for 2 years.
So when you say region whatever number as a representative, I'm assuming that everybody who's watching this who is a nurse and is a member of your union knows what that means. So I'm just sort of piecing it together, and I guess that means that you're all representatives for your regions within in the sort of way that political sort of candidates represent a certain area in that same kind of thing, except without all of the dirty backbiting that we get in politics, obviously, right? Obviously. Okay, so I have a couple of questions that I want to go over with you, or maybe I can do an introduction for myself first. My name is Jason Piercey. Other than being a guy who likes to report himself talking a lot, and I sell houses, I help people buy and sell and invest in real estate, and I do local community managers, television production, and on-air hosting with Rogers TV on a show called Out of the Fog. But I'm sure there are people in the world who are more fortunate than me. I'm sure that there probably are, but I'm not personally aware of any of them. So I'm also probably the most fortunate person that there ever was, because in a dozen different ways, in a bunch of really solid statistical likelihoods, I should be dead. But I'm not, after a motorcycle accident about 2.5 years ago, in large part because of people who do exactly what you guys do and the people that you work with. And somewhere along the way, when there was a campaign going on about showing what value nurses bring and how the system was in a hard place, I ended up getting interviewed, and then I went viral on TikTok, which was cool. It's the first. And now I get to have conversations with you guys, which is really cool. And the last time we did one of these, I actually met, I'll say face to face, sort of, one of the nurses that was in the ICU with me. and she was telling me stories. And so, I mean, it's really cool. So that's who I am, and that's the relevancy for me to be in this conversation. And I'm really grateful and really proud to be a part of it. But let's talk about you guys and nursing. And I'm curious, Raelynn, you're doing a whole bunch of different kinds of things. You've been all over the place. What made you want to be a nurse? Just to begin with. I mean, I know it's only been like 8 or 10 months because you're in your early 20s here, but I'm wondering what made you want to be a nurse?
My mom was a nurse actually, and every day she'd come home, like she worked a lot of different areas, but every day she'd come home and, you know, she'd have a different story or a different experience, or she was gone off flying on a medevac plane. Like I live in northern Newfoundland, so the experience up here is a little bit different. And I always wanted to help. Like you always wanted to be able to help people. You could never retain nurses in the small area. So I always wanted to be able to go away and come home and be able to do that. So
You say a small area. What do you mean by small area?
I'm in St. Anthony. So yeah, it's about a little over 2,000 people, but we do serve a very wide area. So all southern Labrador and up as far as Port Swa.
So it's just sort of in your blood to be a caretaker, be a nurse.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Christa? What made you want to be a nurse? Why did you decide?
I had a sick parent growing up who was in and out of hospital for many, many years. And so I kind of grew up in healthcare, being in and out of the hospital with him all the time. I remember going to the neurology unit at the Health Science Center, and I thought, holy cow, like, there's no way these people can keep track of all of these tubes and wires and people. And it was just amazing to me. And a few of my aunts are nurses too. And they always would say, like, you should do this, you should get into healthcare. And I always thought I was going to be a pediatric nurse until I had my children. And then I thought, no way. I can't do that.
I barely want to look after my own, not somebody else's too. Ugh.
Well, I had a child in university, so I was still doing
Oh, wow.
that. And I remember going home and I would pick him to pieces trying to figure out what is wrong with you when there was nothing wrong with him. But being there with sick children, you almost feel like a bit guilty that your child's not sick. Anything.
Like, why are you so grateful? Like,
Right.
what makes you so special? Which I guess is the same mechanism that results in like a survivor's guilt. Like,
Yeah.
why me? Like trying to accept that. Yeah, interesting. So I can see how that could motivate somebody to want to be in the field if you saw the value of it all the time when you were growing up. It makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you, Taylor? What made you want to be a nurse?
I chose to be a nurse so that I could have a positive impact on the lives of others, especially with our diverse and aging population here in the province. I think there's nothing more rewarding than being able to care for people in some of their most memorable as well as their most vulnerable moments in life. And as a person, I've always been someone who loves a challenge, and nursing is a career that is ever changing and offers a very unique opportunity to work in many different specialties and to care for people at every single stage of their lives. So I couldn't imagine picking any other career.
So, like, if you haven't picked up on it yet, I tend to want to add a drop of humor into most things that I say. And I don't mean anything negative by it. It's just when something comes into my head and I think it's funny, I feel like I have to share it or else I'm doing a disservice. And I can't help but wonder, like, that answer was like so well constructed and so well articulated. And I had just made like the joke about politics and how you guys were like, and I'm just wondering, like, what are you running for? Like, what was that campaign that you're pitching there with that answer? Like, what is it people are voting Taylor for? Like, is it no, just me? Anyway, I thought it was great. It was like, holy cow. Well, I guess you're 2 years into this, so you're yet to be jaded by decades and decades of. What about you, Jennifer? Why are you a nurse? What made you want to do this?
So I wish I could give you some story that is I've always wanted to be a nurse, or a mind-blowing revelation when I was 19 that I had no other choice but to do this. My story's not quite as profound, I don't think, as the other ones. At 18, 19, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to go to college. So the college I chose, the application asked for your top 3 program areas that you would like to go in. Full disclosure, nursing was at the bottom. As it happened, when they processed the application, logistical reasons, this course is only offered every 2 years. This program they made away with. I got accepted to nursing. I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. Why not? And it was one of the best life choices I've ever made. I would never change anything. I would not go back and do anything any different.
I think that really to be successful in life, and I guess it depends on how you measure success, but to me, success just means to have fulfillment and contentment on a daily basis with what you're doing. You can make a lot of money or a little money, but like if you're content and you're fulfilled, to me, that's success, right? So I sort of half forget where I was going with that kind of, but we look at if that's what came out of it, if that happenstance of tripping up into nursing is what created the result that we have here now, where we get to have this conversation, and everybody has kind of a different motivation. Like I saw family need intimate health care my whole life. I had a parent who did this and inspired me. It's something I can't imagine ever having done anything else, because I knew I needed to make impact. And then just sort of happenstance put me into this place, and I'm so grateful for it. Like all of those are entirely different. I don't think your union could have handpicked 4 different answers, and they all come together so nicely. And like there's something warm about that in and of itself. I'd like to know now if we have like a standout memory, like a favorite memory of being as a nurse. Taylor, do you have one?
I have a lot of favorite memories in my short time as a nurse. And I think one that stands out and never gets old in my area of work of obstetrics and labor and delivery is when new moms and dads, as well as their friends and family, get that first look at their brand new baby.
Oh, yeah.
No matter the delivery circumstances, the emotions, the positives, the negatives, that first moment is so special. And it's something that I'm truly grateful to be a part of each and every day.
I'm a father, and I remember that moment very, very like vividly, because we were so confident that in the having a little boy, like with like the room was all decorated, and we had like a little airplane light fixture, and everything was amazing. And then he came out head first, and he had so much hair, and I got like the long curly locks and everything, and I was so excited. Then he came out the rest of the way, and it was a she. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? So I know exactly that moment that you're talking about. Christa, do you have a favorite moment, a memory as a nurse?
I got a lot. I've been doing this a long time. I think really one of the most recent memories that I have is during COVID times. I mean, that was such a turmoil, but one of the personal care homes here had an outbreak of COVID, and nobody was allowed to come in, nobody was allowed to go out. So Western Health had put out a call for anybody to volunteer to go to this personal care home. So I went down, and one of my former coworkers, Ryan from Cornerbrook, he met me there, and we went literally from room to room to room, and we showered every single one of them. We tried to curl their hair, which is horrible, but we did the best we could. Cleaned their rooms, and we talked to all the residents there, and they were so happy to see people and to interact with people. And like all the workers there were sick too. So literally there was nobody in, nobody out. It was just crazy. But I think that was probably one of my most rewarding experiences, just knowing how much that we helped them that day.
It reminds me, I grew up listening to a lot of older country singer-songwriter and folk music. So Chris Christopherson, John Prine, Johnny Cash, and there's a John Prine song called "Hello in There." I don't know if anybody's a John Prine song a fan, but it's about what it's like to grow older and how people just forget. And there's lines in it that say, it says, "Don't you know that old trees just go stronger and old rivers grow wilder every day? But old folks just grow lonesome."
Yeah.
Right? And it says, next time, if you're walking down the street sometime and you catch some ancient wandering eyes, don't just pass them by and stare. Say hello in there. And what you're saying there, it resonates with me, because when I was in high school, I volunteered with my sister to visit the local seniors residence, just like an apartment building for seniors. It wasn't like assisted living or anything, but I would take my guitar and my sister would sing, because I can talk great, real good at talking, but I'm not much of a singer. So that really speaks to me. What about you, Raelynn? Do you have a memory that stands out?
I was saying to the girls earlier, I've been thinking about it all day, like about a memory that really stands out. And there's so many, like over 20 years, there's just so many memories. But I think every time that I meet somebody like you who got a story that that we had an impact, I think every day that's a good memory for me. Like every time you get a patient or a family member who gives you a thank you, or somebody walks out that you never ever expected. That's
So how long have you been nursing now?
20 years.
So in 20 years, I'm your favorite memory. That's what I heard. That's what I got out of it. No, but I know what you mean, because obviously it's a totally different thing. But when I help somebody through like a real estate transaction, there is that too. Like if somebody's really, really stressed because if they don't sell their house, the bank is going to take it, or somebody is they're buying their new home and they need to be moved in because there's a baby coming and they need somewhere to put the baby. Like I know what you mean, because there's a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction and like achievement, that there's a very real impact on another human being or another family, and that like their life is better because you just did the thing that you always do and you did it well. And you can tell, at least in my case, like that guy's walking, so I did a good job. And that stands out to me. Yeah, for sure. Who do we have left? Taylor, did you tell us why you want to be a nurse, or what your favorite nursing memory is?
Yeah, the baby
I think
one.
it was me.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, we do have somebody left. That's right. Here we go. Let's hear it. What's your favorite memory, Jennifer?
So I'm much like Raelynn. I've been thinking about it for a few days, and it's after 24 years, it's really hard to pinpoint something. What I, kind of came to was that after so long of nursing, you kind of get to divide your career up in eras almost. So like you have the era where you worked long-term care and the people that you worked with and the residents that you care for. And then you move on to medicine, and for me, it was ICU, and eventually I got to the OR. So all my eras, I have my group of colleagues that I worked with. In a bigger center, you do change. There's different groups of colleagues too, right? There are different types of patients. So I kind of refer back to my personal career like that. There's good days, there's bad days. There's days we laughed till we cried, and there's days we cried till we laughed. But after it's all done, you do have those feelings of those shifts in those days where you did something right, that you had a positive impact on somebody. Might not even have been a patient, it might have been your buddy. So you did something right after so long. So it was really too hard for me to come up with one concrete memory. So I think I just put it down to that, knowing that everywhere I worked, I'd like to think I had a positive impact somewhere.
So no matter how hard or rough or terrible the day was, when you're out of that moment, like that nervous system dysregulation, like when you're out of that and you're back to some sort of homeostasis, you can reflect on it and be like, I kind of spun out there because that's what our bodies do. Like they send us into a fight or flight sort of thing. But the impact that I had in that moment is on everybody else is way bigger than me just getting nervous or anxious or worried about it. And I'd like, to me, that's huge. That makes so much sense to me. How could you handpick one? Like I have allergies. I cannot remember any specific sneeze. Like how could you? And I can only imagine when there's so many powerful memories that it would be similar to that. So as all people who are representatives in your union, and of course these are volunteer positions, why did you decide to do that? Christa, we'll start with you. Why did you decide to volunteer with your union?
Years ago, I was voluntold I was going to be a shop steward when I first, as I think probably the majority of us voluntold. And then I went to my first convention. From then on, I was hooked, like going to the rallies and seeing the unionism with a bunch of people that are all standing strong. It's amazing. Like the energy was just electrifying. It made you want to go back to your union and shout from the rooftops, and you tried to bring people in. And I slowly went up through all the different positions in my union. And then finally, my mentor, Kathy, she nominated me to be the regional rep, and I took that on. So now I'm on my third term and still loving it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You're a veteran.
Veteran, yeah.
So Taylor, when you listen to somebody who's like Christa, who's had a longer period of time, both as a nurse and also in these sort of representative positions,
Mm-hmm.
how does that impact you? Because like, why did you decide to volunteer as a part of your union? And is this something that what does it feel like to hear stuff like that?
I think it's really empowering to see and hear those comments about convention and wanting to go further in your involvement. For me in particular, before and during nursing school, I saw the work that the union were doing and the conditions that nurses have been met with provincially. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that then and there. And so when I graduated, I attended my first biennial convention. And right after this, I started as a branch 3 shop steward. And from there, I got nominated and elected as a regional representative on the board of directors this year. So I relate to the involvement piece and wanting to move up the chain into more involvement.
What about you, Raelynn? What's got you motivated to do this volunteer work?
I think for me it was being able to get people together to get things to change, because you fight, for better working conditions, for safety, the violence prevention and all that stuff. And that was a big thing for me up here, that we were in a bit of a situation where we were in a lot of unsafe circumstances with our security and things like that. And that's kind of where it started. Like we got really involved with the union, and I must say we did get a few big wins. So I think it was being able to work together to make a change was what really got me involved.
Which I suppose shouldn't really be a surprise to yourself or to anybody else, because it's not that different from why you're a nurse to begin with, or what a lot of your favorite memories are when you look back on your career. It's like the ability to impact positive change where it is desperately needed. So, I mean, no, I suppose that could be an answer for anybody in a lot of ways, or at least for anybody that has the whatever genetic makeup that gets assembled into wanting to be a nurse, like whatever it is, it's like it's as much, like nurse, to my mind, after having some time to think about it, you are who you are as a nurse, not because nursing made you that, but you had to be a nurse because of who you are, Like it's not the other way around, right? Jennifer, what about you? What made, like, how did you decide to get involved as a volunteer?
I guess early on in my career, it was to further my own knowledge, really, more than anything. I didn't feel that I knew a lot about our collective agreement, and kind of wanted to know as much as I could know. So I volunteered to be a shop steward. Like I said, to try to increase what knowledge I had. And from there, that certainly evolved over the last few years in terms of advocating for our colleagues and our members, and advocating for our patients and our residents and our clients, as well as being a union activist. Much the same as Christa, I started as a shop steward and where I am today. Was nominated last year for region rep, and took it on thinking, you know what, I'd like to be able to help not just people locally, but within my region as well, and provincially as a member on the board.
So it seems like, for whatever reason, I'm not seeing you guys anymore, but can you hear me and see me fine?
I can't.
Yes, okay,
Yeah, we can
cool.
hear you.
So the app is being funny for me, but it seems like not only are all of you in the positions that you're in out of the type of willingness or desire that I would expect most people who are interested in nursing to have, but also that none of you are like sick of this. You know what I mean? It's not like this volunteerism, it like being a nurse is bad enough. Now I got to do this. And it seems like those who watch and take this in, and I don't, just full disclosure, it was never indicated to me that this is a nursing volunteer union recruitment video, but it occurs to me that other people could see this and be like, there's satisfaction and a sense of achievement in this. And I think that in and of itself is something worth noting. Which kind of brings me to the last question that I wanted to ask. And rather than individually ask you, I think I'd like to just get whoever wants to answer first, because I'd, if that's okay. There's been a lot of changes over the last number of years with nursing here in our province. What do you hope to see in the future for nursing in Newfoundland and Labrador?
I'd like to see a stabilized workforce with safe patient ratios, because right now the conditions that we're in and the amount of care that we're expected to provide with the minimal staffing that we got, that's what I think that would make everybody a lot happier.
So stable, yeah, like a better, more predictable balance between patient and care. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and to have a number, when you walk in, you're not going to be responsible for 8. Like, you might be responsible for 4 patients, for example. Like, to have a safe staff to patient ratio, I think, is a big thing that needs to be established in this province for sure, and across Canada. I think
you're, I don't know as much about it, obviously, as you do. I think you're obviously right. There would have to be a safe, stable ratio, and I'm not saying this to say that we don't need it or to invalidate the concern. I'm saying it from the perspective of a patient. It never occurred to me that somebody had too many patients when I was in the hospital. I found out about a lot of the problems that as nurses you experienced long after I was gone. Not once did I feel like there was a lack of availability or that you guys were overworked, or that it never crossed my mind that you weren't in the best position to do the best job. And I'm only saying that because I would hate for you to think that things that are out of your control have caused deficits in the care that patients may have received. Now, I'm not saying nobody would have felt that. I'm just saying, I never did.
That's
So
another positive. See?
what's that?
I said that's another positive.
Yeah, yeah. So what else? Who else has an answer for that? What would we like to see for nursing and NL in the future?
I'd like to see the seats go up in the nursing classes, put out more nurses every year so we can offset the nurses that are hiring in the profession and have
Yeah.
enough in, because right now it's a shortage right across Canada, everywhere. There's more nurses that are leaving the profession than there are nurses coming into it, and we're getting a shortage, and the government increases the requirement age to offset.
So we need more people to go to school, and then we need to be able to keep them here when they graduate.
Yes, exactly. We need the government to step up and make it enticing for them to stay.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's obviously we're here to talk about nursing, but I think that's true of other parts of our medical care system locally as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe there's some sort of a tandem thing that can happen there to help us all out. What about you, Taylor? Do you have an idea of what you would like to see?
Yeah, I agree with Christa about recruitment and retention. That's definitely a big thing I thought about. Another big thing that stands out to me would be protection of nursing staff from workplace violence and workplace injuries. Given that the healthcare sector has a higher incidence of violence than all other work sectors, and that every other day an RN or NP makes an injury claim to workers' comp, I think now more than ever we need things set in place to help address this concern, such as a health sector safety council that we've been advocating for. I think that nursing is such a heartfelt profession, and violence of any form should never be an expectation of a career, nor should it be tolerated. So I think in collaboration with union members and employers, I think we can create positive change for our nurses in Newfoundland and Labrador.
As you're saying that, and I'm listening, and obviously it all makes so much sense. And of course, like, violence in the workplace should never be tolerated, obviously. But for you to say that it shouldn't be expected sort of slaps me in the face, because I'm like, you expect it? And that right there is like, that's nuts. Just the fact that it's expected, like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, something got to be done with that. Obviously, I mean, if you're not in the military and you're not a professional boxer, you don't expect violence at work. Oh, yeah. Yeah. One more. What do you think? What would you like to see in nursing in the future in Newfoundland and Labrador? Our last point.
This was a tough one too, to be honest. I mean, the answers we are used to hearing have been kind of said. I think that we've done a pretty good job to ensure nurses, registered nurses and nurse practitioners have a voice in terms of at a lot of the big, as a stakeholder and as advocates. And I think that we need to continue to put pressure on so that we do have registered nurses and nurse practitioners at the table using their nursing lens and their nursing voice. So I would like to see us push forward with that. And we have made some great movement and some forward movement in terms of what we've seen accomplished. And we do have some very strong union leaders across the country. But I always think there's room for improvement, even at the local levels, provincial levels.
Well, I know we've only spent a half an hour-ish together, but it seems to me, at least, and I imagine I mean, how many people are in your union? It's got to be like 5,000 or 6,000. There's a lot, right? Yeah. So it seems, at least to the degree to which you four are representatives of what is provided for by the people who volunteer. Think you're doing all right. And I know that there's a lot to do and it's such important work. And I know that the work itself is so hard and on the body and the head and the heart, but you're there because of the heart. And if the people who volunteer strive for the betterment of the people they represent, the way that you all strive for the betterment of the people that you care for, then to me it seems that it's a foregone conclusion that the things that are required for you to all feel safe and secure and happy and fulfilled, like we talked about, it's just a foregone conclusion. Because when you apply that level of care and that level of forethought and the collaboration, like you mentioned earlier, Raelynn, like to work together with people to accomplish something like that, it seems like it's only a matter of time. So as somebody who really just, hopefully for the rest of his life, really just looks from the outside in to get an idea of things, I think you have a lot to be proud of. And I know that I proudly stand on the side of nurses in our province and anywhere else, I suppose, just because maybe I've seen more of it than the average person should. But I'm grateful for that because I get to have a level of appreciation that sometimes you don't get until you're forced to. So happy Nurses Week to everybody. And thank you very much to the four of you for sharing what I imagine at times is sort of some vulnerable stuff. I mean, about your personal life, about your family, about, I mean, who would have said that, like, yeah, I mean, I tripped up into nursing, but I'm glad I'm here. Like, those conversations can be hard to have. So, both personally and on behalf of everybody who's watching, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.